if it's the case, you just contradicted yourself. If it's the case that you say, the hard ER, if BLK people say it, it's totally fine because they're part of that race. Then it would equally apply that it would be perfectly acceptable for YT people to say would or say the C word because they're part of that race as well. However, the second you say it becomes racially motivated is when the YT person says it back, but somehow it's not racially motivated when black people say it to white people.
Racial double standards just got put on trial, and this debate explodes fast. Andrew Wilson goes head-to-head with a black streamer, Hardy R, over racial slurs, hypocrisy, and whether the rules suddenly change depending on who says what. Before we jump into this, we have recently surpassed 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for your support. Analytics show me that the number of subscribed viewers watching my videos are growing, and I really appreciate that. Now let's do better, America. Hit subscribe for daily uploads and more heated debates right here on America Only.
So what racial remarks have a black person said to a white person?
C word, for instance.
Huh?
The C word.
The C word?
Yeah.
What C word?
Like Ritz. They call them Ritz, right? Another name for Ritz, it's a type of... Yeah.
It's not a racial slur.
No, well, I think that YT people perceive it as being one.
Why do they perceive it as being a racial slur?
Well, it doesn't really matter. They do think it is, and so therefore it is. Racial slurs are only going to be conceptualized by the people who are using them against.
So they do think it is. So that's their feelings.
Well,
they feel it's a racist slur.
All of it's based around feelings, sir. No matter which side you're on.
No, it's not.
Yes,
that's not how that works at all.
Yeah, well,
that's not how that works.
Then let me give you an example. Okay, if you were a person who didn't understand, if you were a black person, let's say, who didn't understand what the N-word meant, right? How could you have any feelings that it was racial or not racial?
So again, this goes back to, the origin of a slur, right?
That's the etymology of a word. It has no bearing on the perception of the word.
The word quite literally has no bearing, no weight to calling somebody.
If I believe that...
Okay, hold on there. So I am a proud Ritz. I prefer saltine personally myself. But yeah, how are you saying it has no racial bearing to it? I mean, we've all seen the Instagram reels, the Facebook reels of, people like yourself who are calling a white person a Ritz or a saltine and also threatening them. So yeah, I think you're wrong on this one.
There's no weight.
If you're saying it to me in order to make a comment about me racially, which is a slur, then that is a racist slur, sir.
What is the origin of...
The etymology wouldn't matter in this context.
It absolutely matters.
Why would it matter?
Is the origin of...
Why would it matter if you're using a racially charged slur towards a person? Why would the etymology matter?
Rico. History and context absolutely matters.
Why?
The reason
why would it matter here? This is just an appeal to authority.
Can I explain it to you?
Yeah.
Okay, then here we go. So first off, started out as a classist term. That was a classist slur, right? For rich white people, for poor white people. Long before Europeans came to the Americas and started using slaves, right?
Granted, go ahead.
I think you mean rednecks, sir.
There was something called indentured servitude up north in the European areas, right? Where you had a lot of poor white people trying to earn the scraps from the hardship jobs that they were working for rich white people. And even then they were calling the poor white people, right? Now, when they got to America and they did their little genocide on indigenous people and then got lazy, couldn't pick their own cotton, so they decided to travel the seas again and start to enslave Africans and bring them over to, America, right? They established the race as the hierarchy of privilege based off of their skin color and complexion. But what never changed was the classism amongst rich and poor white people. Because what happened was those lazy rich white people started having their slaves building their houses, their mansions, their cities and stuff like that. But the jobs that they mostly gave for the whipmaster, the slave patrol, those were the poor white people. And even then, they were still being called, right? And
oh boy, here we go again. Another lecture from this professor. They always turn into scholars and professors whenever talking about these issues, those people. Yeah, I don't think your facts are facting. You probably got this information from some hotep on Instagram or wherever you consume your propaganda. But yeah, you didn't build the pyramids. You didn't invent culture and civilization. And every single thing that you have invented, I mean, Ritz or saltines, they have stepped in and just vastly improved those things. So yeah, let's hear another history lesson from this guy.
And even then, when it came to, the crack of a whip from the whip master, the torturer, the disciplinary of the slaves, that's where it came from. That's why slaves also started calling the whip master, right? So it has nothing to do.
Oh, because it made a cracking sound and yeah. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Thank you for educating me.
With the skin color. It has to do with the fact that it was prominently poor white people having the job of catching slaves and torturing slaves and having to whip slaves. So that's where that came from, right? That's what that is.
Except you're omitting a very key point here, which is that by the 1940s, particularly during the Great Migration, the term took on a new meaning in African American communities. It was used to refer to bigoted white people in the South, and it was used as a racially charged slur.
Bigoted white people in the South. You mean the poor white people that were initially slave patrol, right?
Sure, but then what they're doing is they're using it as a racially charged slur, sir. That's when the context changed.
Racially charged? How is that racially charged?
Because they meant it to only mean you're a white low-class person. That therefore that's racially charged.
That's classist.
Then why wouldn't they just say you're a poor person?
Because was already there. That's for
that makes
classist.
No sense.
That's
why would they
classism.
Include that it was YT specific if it wasn't racially charged, sir?
Hold on.
That makes no sense.
Rico.
That makes no sense.
Rico,
sir,
in my ear.
Sir, I would like an answer to my question.
Rico, I need you to calm down, right?
I already know it.
I am going to answer your question. I already, so just so we're clear, right?
Yeah.
Racism is not classism. The fact that you even brought up the Great Depression and all that matter literally proves my point, how the wealth and poor gap literally grew even significantly more. So there were lesser rich people that were getting more rich off the Great Depression, calling more poor white people. And black people simply just adapted that because they were still being bigoted.
Yeah, but different groups mean things differently. For instance, the N word with the A on the end means something completely different to the African American community than when white people say it, and then with the hard R as well, it means something totally different. When you use a chart, hang on, let me make the argument. If it's the case that you are loading this term with a racial categorization, YT poor people equals C word, then what you're doing there is you're creating a racial categorization and it's a racial slur. I don't see how you could ever get around it. Then why does it only include YT people? Then why isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the term racism, it changes its definition by the day. I mean, these people have Webster's working overtime.
For Mexicans, sir.
Rico.
Why is it only for YT people? Why don't they call Mexicans?
Rico, you're crashing out. Relax.
Just answer the question, dude.
Right? That slur was meant for poor white people. You literally
yes, it's racially charged.
They're
yes,
poor. It's rooted in classism. It's poor.
Who cares what it's rooted in? I already
crackers
again.
And let's be very clear about something. Mexicans have their own slurs. Chinese people have their own slurs.
I agree.
Which a lot of white people came up
with.
Are
those
themselves
racist?
Based off of their racist. Based off their
Are those racist slurs?
They have their own complete different slurs.
Are those
that
racist
white people
slurs?
have used, but it was only ever white people that used cracker.
Are those
for
racist
poor
slurs?
White people.
Those other slurs are those racist? Those other slurs used for other races?
For Mexicans and Asians?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay, so then why is it when you charge those with a racial categorization, are those made racist? But somehow when this is charged with a racial categorization, meaning it's meant to specifically attack you for being white and poor, why is that not now a racial slur, sir?
So now we can get into that, right? There's a distinct difference because of that. It's called dehumanization. And what I mean by that is we see time and time again that there were certain slurs being used for people of color, including black and brown folks, in which there were also laws set up that said that black and brown people were lesser than human, quite literally known as the 3/5 compromise, right? The difference in dehumanization compared to black folks, compared to poor
that
white
was for
folks.
dude. That was for voting purposes, so that the North wasn't outvoted by the South. Give me a break. What are you talking about?
So they made the slaves 3/5 to give the South slave owners
what
one up.
No, what the whole purpose of that was to try to make sure that the South could not rule over the North because they had so many slaves.
So,
yeah, get fact checked.
that's why they made the slaves 3/5.
Yes, I agree.
What?
It was, but it was about voting. It was about voting. That was what the classification was for.
So hold on. Stop. Let's be clear.
Okay.
It was not just about voting, right? Because even after the South got their little one-up, their little help in Congress, people still used that law to justify the state-sanctioned violence that they committed on slaves and black people.
Yeah, southern states.
Southern states. 3/5.
Yeah,
they were literally considered 3/5 of a person.
Yeah, but
and
nobody's arguing
the law
that.
said that they were. Then you shouldn't be trying to defend the 3/5
I'm not
compromise.
defending
That's the
it.
whole point
I'm
here.
explaining the historic context.
Hold on, listen to me. That's the whole point here.
Okay.
That's the whole point here, right? Black and brown people and slaves were literally less than human. They were considered 3/5 of a human being. They were considered 3/5 of a human. Okay, and so guess who still got jobs?
I love this form of like blackwashed history. I mean, like I saw a perfect tweet today, actually. It said, I don't understand why black folks fought so hard for voting rights just to demonize other black voters for voting Republican. And I mean, it sums it up quite nicely. I mean, even looking back at the Confederacy, they had plans on ending slavery. They did. And their constitution actually abolished the importation of slaves before the American Constitution did. So, yeah, Hotep, tell me more, please. I really need to be enlightened by you.
Guess who still got jobs? The poor white people.
Why, and what would this have to do?
Because they were still seen as human beings compared to African slaves
why do you keep
Mexican
muting me, dude?
peoples.
Stop muting me.
Because you're
such a bad faith. Well, dude, you won't even let me get three words out. You won't even let me get 3 words out before you mute me.
Man.
Now,
I need to turn down this phone.
What about Peckerwood?
There we go.
Is Peckerwood racial?
Peckerwood, I haven't even heard Peckerwood.
You never heard the word Peckerwood?
Who's that for? No, not like that.
Can you look up the word?
Sure. Am I going on Urban Dictionary?
No.
I'm surprised he hadn't heard that term while he was likely serving a prison sentence.
Very common anti-white slur.
Is a common anti-white slur. Hold on a minute. Let's see here. Peckerwood. Hold on a minute. Let's see here. Peckerwood. It says a white person, especially a poor one.
Mm-hmm. So when a black person specifically uses this in order to create a class, in order to point out that you're a YT poor person, how's that not racially motivated?
Do you realize? Hold on. I don't think you just realized. You just proved my point even further. That's considered another classist term.
No, it's racially charged.
That's not racially. It's literally.
Are you referring to a race?
Especially a poor one.
Are you referring to a race?
It says here, white person, especially a poor one.
Yeah,
that's
so
classist,
are we referring
to...
So if I had a slur that referred to Chinese people as being poor Chinese people, let's say it was Ching Chong, would that be racist?
Dude, are they here in America?
Yeah, there's Chinese people here in America.
So you do realize they've said that to Chinese people, right?
Is it racist is my question.
It's racist, it's xenophobic.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking
about? So then what you're doing... hang on. Let me make the argument now. My turn to make the argument.
This is how,
you're just not letting me make the argument. You contradicted yourself.
Here's how I know. Sir,
let me make the argument.
No, argue.
You know, I'm not allowed to
here's
make
how I know-
arguments.
Rico,
Only you are.
Rico, this is how I know you're arguing in bad faith because rich white people have used Peckerwood as well. Rich white people have used Peckerwood
and
as well,
and
dude.
BLK people have used the hard ER before, dude.
Because they, what? Dude, they're black.
Yeah,
they're black.
Yeah, and they're white. So therefore, if they're white and they say it can't be racist, if you're black and you say it, you can't be racist. So if it's
Yeah, and that's our word, okay? We invented that word, so maybe stop appropriating our culture.
racially charged from the other direction, then it has to be racist by your logic.
You're not, Rico.
No, you're not understanding, sir. Let me make the argument.
You're not understanding.
What?
Dude.
You're just all you do is cut me off when I'm making an argument.
For you. I made it very clear for you.
How do you know what my position even is? You won't let me make the argument. Let me make the argument, then respond.
Go ahead.
If it's the case, you just contradicted yourself. If it's the case that you say, the hard ER, if BLK people say it, it's totally fine because they're part of that race. Then it would equally apply that it would be perfectly acceptable for YT people to say would or say the C word because they're part of that race as well. However, the second you say it becomes racially motivated is when the YT person says it back, but somehow it's not racially motivated when black people say it to white people, and it's only racially motivated when YT people say, like, to Chinese people, for instance, in order to produce, hey, this is like a low-class Chinese person. Somehow, you're making the conflation that it is the case that it can only be class used against white people instead of a racial motivation, and that is definitionally not true based on the definition you wrote.
Yeah, so racial double standards totally exist, and as you can tell, there's no reasoning with people like this. I mean, you know, they'll tell you Jesus was black, they built the pyramids, George Washington was black. I mean, you guys constantly rewrite history. Like, George Orwell would be rolling over in his grave right now. Well, that was Andrew Wilson taking on a random black streamer, don't know his name, on the topic of racial double standards. And if you like videos like this, make sure you hit like and subscribe. I appreciate all of the support that I've been given lately. And as you can see here, we are starting to grow in numbers. My subscribed viewers are viewing more of my videos, so I appreciate that. And those of you who haven't subscribed yet, I mean, what are you waiting for? Hit that like and subscribe button now. Thank you all for watching, and as always, it's not America first or America last, but America only. I'll see you next time.